you can hear me okay. Welcome to another show. Hope you guys are all doing well tonight. Had a good Monday. I literally just cleared when I went live, so I've just kind of been waiting for the storm to move. It says no rain, so let's see what we can do. Got this really nice 3/4 moon. Just pulling up Stellarium right here. 9.9 days old, 75.7% illuminated, coming up at, what are we at right here? 41 degrees altitude, pretty high up there, conjoined with Saturn tonight, conjunction with Saturn tonight, and a little bit off to the left, if y'all can see it with the naked eyes. And Terra's off to the right, Jupiter somewhere in the southwest, Venus is already set, and I got a nice sharp Mars coming up in the southeast, but let's keep on this moon for a little while. Got these waxy Gibbs. A big shout out to my space crew, comes through every time. Go up from the top. Vision, Harmony Smurf, thank you. Andrew Johnson becoming a regular. Billionaire My Matrix, is this your first time? Welcome, good to see you. Mary, hope you're doing well today. Ellie, of course. Ray Clay, Vision, Peruge, Venus 1122, also becoming a reg. DDB from back in the day. Old regular. Who else we got? That's it for now. Let me know if you want to shout out or you want to shout at me about some shit. Just hanging out. It's still early, 9:30 right here. Very, very happy that it cleared just for a little bit. I'm gonna go, there's kind of this orange glow on it right now, but I'm gonna try and get some zoomed in shots for y'all. Some of those new jams again, and then it's like my plan to kind of get you guys used to all the new stuff, and then I can go back and play all the old stuff and it'll sound new again. This one I haven't played actually a lot of. It's called True North. It's a bit of a slow jam, but it'll start us off. This track, The Sky Don't Lie, I'm gonna release on the next album. I realized I had never put it out. I mean, I did put it out on Bandcamp, but it wasn't on any of the albums. Yeah, Egg-Shaped Moon, Oval Moon. Thanks, Andrew. Therapeutic. Yes, for me too. I mean, this is what I wait for every day. All right, let's play some jams. Here we go. Get my drink and get ready here for a little bit. Maybe I'll play some guitar later. Settle in my peeps. working all the way up until I started streaming, so pretty hungry. But when I'm hungry, I kind of work faster and lighter and more efficiently. So yeah, it was really cloudy, so I wasn't sure of the focus. I went in and got it a little bit sharper. Hope that's looking really nice for y'all. Really lucky. Let's hope keep cheating on my stream to say hi. Thumbs up, man. I appreciate it. Back to the homeland. Keep up the good work yourself. You and Paul. Best. And I don't know, I don't see Chris Astro or Elliot, but I guess they're getting their stuff on tonight. What's up there, Brennan? How you doing? Says, dude, your jam sounds sweet on my stereo. Loving the tunes, bro. Fuck yeah. I appreciate that. Mary says, love it when Magnifier shows up. Yeah, let's just get a couple of minutes of this wide shot, and then we'll see what the zoom is looking like. Saturn is real close. So I was reading some articles today about how they finally confirmed that there's ice on the moon, water ice on the poles, based on like 10-year-old data. It's like better late than never, man, but at least now we can just talk about it and be like, okay, there's water on the moon. Faux show. Even in the propaganda world, they'll have to admit it. It seems likely. Just a different, I'm sure there are other elements as well. I was watching some stuff about how possibly something like phosphorus potentially is creating all the kind of white, the hot white spots that we see on the moon. Say what? Yeah, I think so. I still have to look it up. I just saw it literally, like, I just checked the news quickly before the stream. But let me see if I can find the article on this computer. Astronomers discover water on the moon from some blog. What is this? The Week. Winter vacations are inching closer to reality. BS, BS, BS. Some more BS. But stuff like that. Yeah, just type in moon water and then hit news. You'll get it. I don't want to sit and like regurgitate already regurgitated stuff. Let's play this. Something in the background. Yeah, let's get the mood up a little bit. Mary says, coolness, ice cream moon. It almost looks like a scoop. It wouldn't taste very good, probably. Yeah, let's get some cheap moon water. Running out on Earth. No, it's just fascinating because, like, it's data that was gathered many years ago, but they needed all this time to kind of get, I guess, corroborated feedback or recheck it against other new discoveries to figure it out. But either way, it's nice to move the needle forward just a little bit. Of course, it gets super duper hot. I think it's sitting in front of two monitors at once while, and I have headphones on. Just gets like instant cooker. Let's zoom in here. Hop right down to see a serenity and tranquility. Tranquility base. The moon's a little bit tilted right now. I got the camera rotated. I gotta say, I never understood the cheese thing. I really didn't. Even green cheese, like, I love cheese, but moon never reminds me of cheese. Doesn't look like it, doesn't remind me of it. Ice cream, maybe. But more like, looks more like concrete. Somebody said like this is an old building site where they're creating auditoriums and, you know, parking lots. Looks like somebody spilled a bunch of concrete and it dried. Checking out Mare Imbrium over here, top right corner, Plato crater to the left of that, Montes Tenerife. You got Archimedes, Cassini crater. You got Autolycus. And at the very edge of the little crater at the tail end of the mountain range, the Apennine mountain range, that is, I want to say, that is Eratosthenes. And it comes, points right at Copernicus, which is, in full view, it's probably a really good zoom-in shot. There's still definitely some funky haze going on. But yeah, Copernicus looking nice. Some sinuous rills. Leading into Sinus Iridum, which is hidden by the Terminator line. We got a couple of craters outside of Mare Imbrium. That's Eudoxus, and I want to say Aristoteles. I'm just trying, going down along the edge. The known edge of the moon. Mare Crisium and Proclus. This is actually quite fascinating, this area past Mare Crisium. Much more in view, likely because of libration. I'm trying to think whether I've seen this area before, and I'm not talking about the kind of like etched in characters. I mean this kind of crater that's peeking out from the very, very bottom. Let me know if y'all have seen this before. All the craters, I think, are named after, obviously, the people who discovered them, but it's just a massive range when you get out of just the commonly known ones. You start realizing how few you really know. But this crater, I'm trying to look up this area past Mare Crisium. Anybody hop in with an answer if y'all have it. Far side is not going to give me anything, is it? I feel like I honestly have to get back to what I wanted to do originally, which was create very high resolution lunar atlases, but like with 20 or 30 names on them only, so that it was easy to look up and use. And I kind of dropped that project a little bit, but I really should pick it up again. Toast, toast, toast. Super duper hot. Yeah, most likely named by the astronomers who first observed them. I mean, ranging from the 1600s to now. So there must have been a lot of different people discovering new things. Toasty. Exactly, Dr. Seuss named them. That would be hysterical, though. There we go. Little adjustment. Yo, what's up, Awake? How's it going, brother? Adjusting some things over here. Hope you guys are doing well. we didn't zoom into the bottom left corner. Let's take a look over there. I still want to look up those craters at the very bottom. I think that's one of the first times I'm streaming that stuff. Dropped right into Clavius and Magnus, and to the right of that looks a little different, but that's Tycho at the very top. Tycho. And then moving up a little bit, top right of the screen, that is Rupus Recta, Straight Wall, or Huygens Sword, as some others call it. Hey, what's up there, Jacqueline? How are you doing? Good evening to you. Just doing a little tour over here. La Tour de la Lune. What else we got? Moving up here. I'm trying to think what this one is. What's up, Hypercube Fairy? Hi, Wankin. Hi, Wankin. Let's pull this other tune on over here. Yo, what's up, y'all? Just jumping on a little bit to answer some questions. Got rid of the focal reducer, got the camera in direct to scope right now. Looking really nice. Busted up that saturation a little bit to get a little bit of the color in the Maris. Maria, would you show the edge, please? Sure. So, you guys are unfamiliar with it. The moon does this thing called librate, so it tilts as it kind of orbits, I guess, Earth or the sun. As we see it, it kind of tilts and shows us different little portions of the sides. So I'll show you this area that is a byproduct of libration, and then I'll show you the area, the South Pole region that we can't see. While I'm doing that, Brennan asked theories on why all the craters are shallow. So I think it's partly because, well, some of them are not really very shallow, they just look shallow to us. So there's a compression of the field, and it looks like it flattens out a lot of what's very tall regions. However, still it feels like that could be a product of actual erosion or years of just being in space and being bombarded by solar wind and dust. But also electrical craters, at least the stuff that I've seen in the laboratory with Bill Yelverton and the Electric Universe stuff, all these craters seem to kind of bubble up, and they're not from impact, so they don't have this varying degree of kind of rising and setting, so they're all kind of the same level. And I feel it's because of the same sort of event where electrical discharge moved across the surface and it created these bubbling features. And these bubbling features could be just like volcanoes on Earth or volcanoes on the moon. Another reason could be, a lot of impacts happened and then a whole other slew of smaller impacts affected that original area and kind of blasted it smooth. That could be a reason. Another reason could be, since if there is water on the moon, that's now been confirmed, but maybe there was a lot more water, and or at least where the seas are. So maybe there's a lot of interaction between the soil and the water, creating these kind of pockets that look like craters, but in fact they're kind of bubbling surface features that settled. And when the music stopped. Keep playing some instrumentals in the background. So right, I want to just, and Vision reminded me, don't forget electric dust devils, right? So like ionic winds on the surface of planets that don't have atmospheres are much more prone to kind of create more powerful fields and vortices as they move across the surface. That could also be displacing dust and or smoothing out tall features because there's kind of an even electrical field around the moon. I'm also just speculating too, this is some off the cuff, off the brain. Venus says, let me just get back to Mary's question real quick. So there's no atmosphere on the moon. There's definitely an atmosphere. It's apparently 1 to 3%, but I wonder if, depending on where the moon is, the atmosphere is activated more by where it is in space, or the amount of solar wind, or the impact of, the field modalities like gravity or the pull, the attractive or repulsive force, triggering certain gases to kind of create more of an atmosphere at certain periods. Because I feel like the moon looks different at different times of the year, and so far it's been, 3 to 4 years of observing really continuously, and you can kind of notice when the moon looks really dry or when it's glowing or when there are like hot spots. So I just want to run back to the Mary's question. So right here I'm going to zoom into Mare Crisium. Brennan, take a look at the links in the description of this video. I very rarely like to push other channels or theories, but Electric Universe fundamentally has a couple of very core, important concepts backed by a lot of good science. electricity at the core of everything, and possibly a very dynamic and moving space, universe, different sky, something that happened in the last 7,000 to 10,000 years. That our ancestors may have seen a sky that was very different than the one we see today. Instead of zooming, of course, I turn on the video. Let's get that zoom on. Right, so dead on screen, you got this kind of little crater with one of the most unique features I feel like that we see on the moon. A couple of these striations are kind of, I guess, what look like filamentary scars, or whatever, the kind of white wispy pointy things coming out of the center of the crater. I don't have a good word for it, but what do they call? They're like, sometimes they're called pyroclastic scars. Let me lower this a little bit. It's a little chiller. Yeah, that's cool. And then of course the larger area, Mare Crisium, that we know very well, and the two little craters inside that, Pierce and Picard. So let's go a little bit further. And so what's very interesting is that if you look at the moon over certain periods of like 5 to 10 years, you'll see that this area near Mare Crisium will kind of tilt towards us and show us more of this side area that you see towards the edge. So you'll see this crater, kind of very elongated crater on the side of the moon. This is a rare feature that you don't see very often. Well, I guess you see it in phases, in cycles. But this particular region is, yeah, you can kind of see a little bit more of the moon because of this thing called libration. It's tilting, I guess it's the side with Mare Crisium towards us. And so if we follow the edge down, you'll see also another very, very large elongated crater. Another feature that I don't rarely film because we don't see it very often. And what I'm going to do here is just blast the settings a little bit, the contrast, so you can kind of see it a bit better. That's a lot. That's nice. This is actually not a crater. I feel like this is another mare. I'd love to know what it's called. But I'm going to keep the show going, and if anybody wants to chime in with the name of this, let me know. Otherwise, I'll look it up a little bit later. So let's go down to the South Pole and take a look at what that region where, because they sent satellites that kind of photographed the moon from different angles, they got to see some things. I guess the agencies get to see things that we don't see. Anyway, more libration fun right here at the very bottom right. And a region that I don't think we see very often, like a scattered kind of Pangea type mare. Happy to hear thoughts from everybody. We're nearing the South Pole, so this is looking at the moon directly. So we're coming up, this is basically south, and it's tilted a little bit because of the moon's axis. And then we'll get to this area, which is where some of the craters start appearing. So it's literally, we'll get to this known region, which is Clavius, right under Tycho crater right here. And then you have Maginus and Clavius with the 5 kind of chain of craters. Also another excellent electric scarification clue, because like what kind of feature can, like what kind of event can create a chain of craters like that? And so Harmony Smurf, thanks, says it was Mare Scythii, Sythii, over Bifecunditatis and Crisium. Smithy. It's like, what's that? That's from Peter Pan? Sort of, but not really. Obviously somebody else. But yeah, Smithy, Mari Smithy, let's go back to that real quick. Really quickly. Yeah, this large crater over here, this large Mare. Harmony, let me know if I'm looking at the right one or if it was the first one. The center on it. And I'll get back to the South Pole in a second. I mean, I know it's not cement, but gosh, does it, right? Venus asks a question about crop circles. I used to study that a lot, but I feel like a lot of it is, it could be done with the electromagnetic pulses, but I feel like a lot of the designs that occur in crop circles are kind of just, I don't know, it definitely seems very man-made to me, at least 99% of them. Some of them look really weird, and I definitely have been, I've read stories about them that span, a couple hundred years, but we really don't know how they're made. I mean, you obviously know that some people, man can make them, but some of the other ones that we don't have proof for are almost you can never falsify them, you can never really prove them. Okay, cool, Harmony confirmed that. That was Mari Smithy. All right, let's keep going. I feel like that's Langrenus crater, but let's keep moving. I want to get back to that South Pole region. All right, so we're back here at Clavius. Put those settings to bright one more time. Also, another cool feature is the shadow of the crater underneath Clavius. Particular angle, so you're getting a lot of darkness in this kind of cool feature. Looks like a little gash cut out. And then, I want to say that's Magnification crater, but I need to confirm that. What's up, Autumn and ABQ? Electric Universe craters, seems like that. A lot of the designs, are too sharp. They look like wingdings and stuff that came out after the Apple computer, and I don't know. And also the crop circles, especially the really big ones and the complicated ones, are always next to some sort of base or some sort of thing where you can never find out. No cameras. I don't know. I have the same feeling about UFOs. It's just gotten to a point where you can't really prove that it's there, and you can't really prove that it's not there. So, okay, finally over here. I feel like, anybody correct me if I'm wrong, this is around the South Pole region. The moon's obviously tilted to the right a little bit, but this is right beyond this point would be where they kind of took pictures with either the LRO or the Grail missions, and then kind of pieced it together. And there are pictures, they'll show these pictures of craters that are almost in perpetual darkness. And apparently that's where they did spectrometry or spectrograph readings to determine that there was there was ice water, as we know it. And they took these measurements over 10 years ago. Just somebody had to, I guess, look into it again and confirm. But we can just move on from that and just say that the moon actually has water, which makes it, that gives it a great opportunity to kind of have a moon base. Something I've been saying for a long time, before we even consider Mars. If there's water on the moon, it should make a lot of sense to go there first. What do you guys think about that? Mary, sorry I can't show much more than this, but this is around the region. And similarly, we can go up to the top, to the North Pole region, and kind of take a look at the edge of that. And definitely check out Copernicus next. Autumn and ABQ, definitely. I talk about that almost every show. Links in the description for everybody who wants to see that. And yeah, I kind of, you know, Thunderbolts doesn't have every answer, but they've opened many doors, many great fundamentals. I mean, that's the thing. I feel like if there are crop circles that are just rings, then it might be, you know, cymatic vibrations from the Earth, or, you know, some sort of weapon, not weapon, or like something from space that's being tested that kind of blasts these electromagnetic beams from the sky, and you can kind of organize the beam in any way you'd like, so you could essentially feed it a wingding and then shoot it at a crop field and essentially whatever. It's like laser printing from the sky onto Earth. So I feel like crop circles are a whole hodgepodge of things that we don't really know about. And the proponents of them, the guys who go out on TV and talk about it with the spooky music, is like, just really doesn't do it any service. So check out this north region. The top sea that we see, the Mare here, is Mare Frigoris, Sea of Cold. And that's right above this really cool region, the Alpine mountain range that includes Plato Crater and Valles Alpes, one of my all-time favorite features, the kind of gash that goes about 350 kilometers through the mountain range. You can see it even better than the other night, in a way. So let's go north a little bit more. And this is kind of what I was laughing at about the cement. This area looks literally like somebody just kind of fixed up a wall with a, you know, one of those spatula type things. Just kind of laid out some cement poorly. But of course these regions are massive. Anyway, cutting into the edge of the Terminator line north of Mare Frigoris, in the shadow is probably an Anaxagoras crater region. And then right beyond this, you know, looking into Z depth, like past it, you'd probably, if, you know, see, I feel like the moon only librates kind of left and right for us and doesn't librate on the poles. You know, I wonder if it's just because of the tilt or because of the way the magnetic orbit is structured such that we don't see that. But that region beyond Mare Crisium is a lot more area than we normally see. So that would be really cool if, so Harmony Smurf, thrown in some good data, says the water was found in crater Cabeus, C-A-B-E-U-S. I guess that is in the South Pole. Was I right about that? Harmony Smurf also agrees about, I guess, the moon base. The water there, when harvested, could be used for rocket fuel, yep, and to line the spaceship to protect occupants from solar radiation. I mean, that's the whole thing. I mean, especially if they can photograph this region already, then we don't even need to send humans necessarily. You could even send unmanned vehicles like the stuff they sent to Mars. It should be really easy. I mean, it should be. It's not, but at this point. Mary, the stream looks green on my end. Sorry if it's buffering. Maybe just hit that refresh. Let's get a bit of a wide shot here, just for the fun of it. Northern part of the moon, Mare Imbrium, Serenity, and Copernicus, bottom left corner. guys probably know sinus iridum, one of my favorite areas, just kind of creeping right under the Terminator line. You can kind of see the northern tip of the Bay of Rainbows. And then little kind of lettering mountain range, that kind of Montes Tenerife. It's a really cool shot right here. Just creeping. A little chicken foot. I love this area right near Plato Crater. What's really interesting, I've been noticing that there's this kind of other crater chain to the left of Plato. But I always want to kind of look up, and then I notice it during streams. I'm just gonna make note. Definitely looks like it. Like not as pronounced as Clavius, but where do you see the hexagon? Let's see. Mike Rabel says, how many cigar-shaped ships have you seen? I don't see cigar-shaped crafts, really. I haven't. There are satellites. They look like little pinpoints. The only cigar-shaped crafts have been made-up images on UFO sites. But anyway, I hope you stick around and watch the moon with us. Mike, welcome. Ray Clay, I was gonna ask you where you saw that hexagon, so we can take a look at that. You kind of see these, what they call like overlapping, they're not sinuous rails. I guess it's like landmass folding on one another, these kind of little folds in the surface in the Mare. Let's go down this mountain range a little bit around Mare Imbrium. This whole region is Mare Imbrium. You can kind of see this, I'd love to have some contrast here a little bit. Harmony Smurf giving me some info on that little chain of craters. Says they're just named Plato, A, M, Y, and B. Neighbors to Plato. It's such an interesting feature. I mean, look at this friggin' thing. It's like a tiny little mare carved almost into this mountain range in a way. It's so weird how this whole thing curves all the way around. It almost feels like it's one piece. Like the kind of the top of an iceberg in a way, peeking out. But then like Plato is just like this massive, what is it, like 100 kilometers across? Let's see, it says Plato's a lava-filled remains of a lunar impact, maybe, on the moon. It is located northeastern shore of Mare Imbrium, blah, 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 109 kilometers. I mean, that's massive. It's a depth of about 1.5 miles. Why don't they just keep it in one metric? Either metric or miles, man, make up your mind. Either way. Oh, cheers, Mike. I'm glad. Happy to have you. We have a really nice shot tonight, so just trying to do a little bit of a tour and talk about things that come to mind. So I really like this region, of course, Montes Alpes, which is the Alpine mountain range. That's to the right of Plato Crater, and then kind of cutting through the Alpine range is Valles Alpes. And I want to look up if I'm right about the length of that, because I said it was something like 300 or so. Valles Alpes says, oh, I'm wrong, sorry. I doubled it. So Valles Alpes cuts into the Montes Alpes range. It extends 166 kilometers. My bad. All right, a little shorter, but still it has that kind of like incredible feature. It's like one of the only features like that on the moon. Really carved into this double layer of regolith. So you have, if you look up Valles Alpes and get the close-up shots, not that this isn't close up, but like super close up shots, you'll see that it's like mare surface, and then you kind of get this sedimentary layer, and then that's carved through both of them. And right in the middle of that, this one gash has really one of the best proofs for electric arcing carving on the moon, because this has no point of entry or exit, really. So no volcanic structures to create these kind of tunnel effects. I guess I'm talking a lot instead of zooming more. Mr. Zoomin. I knew it was you. Here we go. So, got a lot of water in the atmosphere, so it's kind of aberrant right now, but you can see this. So this is a good measure of distance, so you can, like, you know that I take distance with a grain of salt, but if we have measurements, I'm just gonna put them out there, and everybody's free to kind of decide whether they believe in them or not. But as we know, this is roughly 160 odd kilometers long, and that's really incredible. So this feature like really doesn't have any typical explanation if you go to the public sources, and there are never really articles written about it as being a key feature in lunar geology. And for me, the whole point of doing this really was to observe the moon, but also kind of do science in some way. And ultimately, whether you believe it or not, we're essentially doing lunar geology. Maybe this is a little chiller, yeah. Ray Clay says, I'm sticking to it. It was a pure hexagon. Did you mention? Okay, wait, let's see. Ray Clay says, in the large crater with the two hills inside, the floor looked like a hexagon when you were zoomed in. All right, let's see. Large crater, two hills inside. Up on the hilltops, let's see. I think maybe that was in a different region. Do you remember what it was called, what I was talking about? Oh, I think you were talking about when I was at Copernicus. Yeah, Copernicus, here, let's get back to Copernicus. I definitely think there are hexagon craters, especially if you have electric arcing causing them to bubble up from the surface. They'd definitely be prone to form along lattices, crystalline lattice structures. If you look at rock formations in the laboratory at the microscopic level, they're all hexagons and or different forms of complex geometry in lattice, crystalline lattice structures. So it makes sense that on larger scales, because of supersymmetry, you'll get similar complex geometry at all levels, whether they look 2D or they evolve into cube shapes or tetrahedrons turning into looks like triangles, or even fractals for that matter, or just different arrangements of triangles and lines and squares and tetrahedrons. Right, so I was zooming into Copernicus. No, I wasn't checking the data. Let's go here for a second and see what Ray Clay was talking about. So back at Copernicus crater, again, Copernicus and Eratosthenes, there it is. Eratosthenes and Copernicus. Eratosthenes has what looks like a T3RB craft parked in the center. Definitely not that. But I can understand where lots of UFO channels will take pictures of Eratosthenes and claim that there's like a triangular alien craft in the center of it. But you got to think that this crater is like 85 kilometers or so in diameter. So that thing is I'd say 10 kilometers. 20 kilometers. I mean, it's a massive thing. I don't think there are craft like that, really. And the T3RB stuff is really tiny. You'd never really see it with a telescope. Anyway, just want to sidebar on that. So let's see. Ray Clay was talking about some hexagonal structures. And yeah, actually, that's very, very cogent of you, because you can really even see it right here. As we zoom into Copernicus one more time, you'll see very noticeably hexagonal structure right here. Points the vertices of a hexagon. Bottom left, bottom right at the, almost forming a straight line, and then another line. You can really see it clearly here. So I wonder if this is what you were talking about. This lighter is so freaking loud. I gotta find something. Also, can we just say we're thankful to get some nice weather to see this gorgeous moon in such detail. So, also a really interesting feature for me has been this, almost these little, I guess pyroclastic remains to the right of Copernicus crater. These little kind of, I don't know, it looks like a spatter of like ketchup. I mean, obviously, neutral color ketchup, but I don't know, ketchup or paint drips or whatever you want. I'm gonna keep moving down. Ray Clay, let me know. Let's look for some more hexagons. Here's a key feature, Tycho crater, again with the central peak. Tycho definitely looks a little less like a hexagon, a little more oval, or round rather. We're just seeing it oval. But really almost, the idea is what happens is that there's either an electric arc right in the center of where this crater would be, and it has this, it creates an energy exchange between the surface, whether or not it was simply from the dielectric medium around the moon, just like blasting it, whether it was from Earth or Venus or any of the nearby planetary bodies. I guess it would zap this region for, in my mind, they do these lab experiments on a tiny scale, and this happens in a matter of seconds. So you can imagine, like on the scale of the moon and interplanetary thunderbolts. They don't really talk about this very often, but it could, or specifically, but you can imagine something like this crater, which is, about 100 kilometers across, versus something like Valles Marineris on Mars being much, much larger, both of which being created by some sort of electric arcing discharge effect. So, for example, you have this electric arcing happen right where Tycho crater would be, and then once the blast is done, you have this the double layer breaking and emitting like an entire shockwave across the top of this crater formation along the walls, possibly even flattening it out in a way. But of course, once that arc is disconnected, it would leave a remnant right in the center. And this is what's seen in the laboratory, which is so fascinating. And you don't see this necessarily with impact craters. Another really important feature to note is, whether or not you think NASA's on Mars, I think it's very possible that they have rovers on Mars. But let's say those pictures from the surface are real. We've seen these nodules, like little balls that are created at the center of craters. And this can only really happen in a laboratory experiment where plasma is involved. No impact is going to create kind of such heat tension to create like a spherical, like pellet left in the center of a crater. So these things are there are just a lot of good reasons why electricity or, arcing might be involved in cratering. I mean, for me, it's very, I lean that way, but I'm very cautious with any new theory or even old theory. So I think it's high time we start addressing some very important features on the moon, especially if we're all going to end up going there one day. We should know more about it. So let's look at another feature. Really, this one's kind of just cool. I just noticed upon it, you know, three tiny same size craters just next to each other in kind of like this triangular formation. Also really interesting, like how these things would form necessarily. Like if you had, you know, the idea that I've seen simulated meteor strikes, but they never seem to, well, like my mind never wants to, it kind of never puts the two and two together. You see the impact strike, and then they show you the feature, but you don't really, it doesn't really make sense as to how it would happen. And that's not to say that there are not many impact strikes that are that noticeably look like they've been blasted with like a cannonball type object. So I don't think that there are no impact craters, but I really feel like the more I look into it, the more I feel like there are much more, you know, electrically inspired formations. You know, maybe they're not all just like arcing or discharge. Maybe some of it is like the moon moving through a certain part of space and kind of bubbling over in heat, and then the whole surface bubbles and kind of melts away. And of course, bubbling, as you know, like water doesn't have any form, and then when you heat it up, it starts turning into geometry, essentially spheres, out of like what is basically pure magic. But it's not. It's just you're heating this. You're exciting the ions and the particles. Or in this, you know, in this case, you're exciting, you know, an entire kind of planetoid body that's, you know, made of different noble gases, lots of moisture. You got carbon-based elements. You got helium. You got different versions of molecular stuff that we know on Earth, on the moon, and then you blast it with like high discharge, and you know, maybe this is what you get, these kind of hexagonal structures. I'm just panning through rather slowly, just kind of looking for different features. I just want to look at Clavius for a moment, but I guess I gotta zoom out. Yeah, Keith says a lot of moisture in the air. I agree. And like I was saying earlier, like some of the gases I feel like get excited at different either distances from Earth or different phases in the orbit. You know, so if you have phosphorus or things like xenon or argon or neon, the moon glows differently at different phases because of probably the exciting these gases in addition to the moisture and of course the position of the sun and the solar wind. So there must be a lot of factors involved. Yeah, so just looking into Clavius or Clavius, I know I always kind of do that. It's become kind of a tick where I name it and I pronounce it both ways. I hope it's not too freaking annoying. It's almost starting to annoy me, so I'm just gonna pronounce it one way, and if it's wrong, I hope it doesn't annoy anybody. But either way, Clavius, looking really great with this, I don't know, it looks like a twisted fork shadow. I don't know, I'm just having my pareidolia moment. Almost looks like a little, yeah, little fork shape at the bottom right. Let's zoom in one more. And then, so you got this chain of craters, starting with a large one with its own central peak, and then kind of rounding off in this very natural spiral pattern. What immediately makes me think of Fibonacci sequence or like a conch shell. And of course, this looks very elongated to us, but this also seems like it has straighter kind of walls. And another feature is that first crater inside is almost on the edge of Clavius. And so what they talk about in the electric universe, and this is something that is just, you know, an observable fact, is that electric arcing favors craters on the rims of other craters and also central peaks, based on experimental evidence. You know, C.J. Ransom, Billy Elverton, this new kid, Mr. Gable, and I'm sure there are a bunch of other people who have done this type of arcing experiments that reveal similar features. So I'm gonna go north for a moment. I kind of want to go over to Saturn and see what's going on while it's still clear, but I'm really enjoying this kind of detailed observation of the surface and commenting on it. It's something that I've always think about, but sometimes I feel like I'm rambling. You know, I encourage everybody who either questions this or doubts what I'm saying or even totally believes what I'm saying to go look at the NASA video, which is called The Formation of the Moon. And this is kind of what we have. I mean, obviously there are different theories that go out there and they don't teach exactly this in colleges, but in terms of what the mass public is aware of is the fact that this moon the moon that we're looking at right here, which I'm going to zoom out just a little bit, was created by a series of events that has been simulated, and it looks really cool, but some of these features don't make a lot of sense, especially the ones that we talk about quite often, like, for example, like Plato Crater, why it's so perfectly clean on the rim of the mountainside, like how that happened. Some things like Sinus Iridum, Clavius, the stretch mark coming off of Tycho Crater, Proclus, which is right there near Mare Crisium, being extremely bright. Obviously it's because of the contrast settings, but clearly it's much hotter than the rest of the surface. Features like, you can't see it here tonight, but soon Aristarchus Plateau, that, you know, you'll see on this NASA video that they get to a point where they have this bombardment phase and this area where the Maria fill up with, I guess, lava and then cool. But then there's another bombardment phase, and then all of a sudden they fade in the graphics of Aristarchus and some of the key features that we talk about. And for me, that's just like, it's really kind of annoying because, you know, Aristarchus is so prominent, so easily observable. There are telescopes on Earth that are just freaking unbelievable. If we can see it the way we do, imagine like the larger scopes. So we could observe this really key feature that does not have a real solve in terms of a bombardment phase. Why it's shaped the way it does, why it has, you know, a hot white spot in the center of Aristarchus. I can even just pull up a quick picture of Aristarchus while we're here. Look at that, I have that exactly set up. So I know I have a real image of the moon behind it, but it's under the Terminator, but here we go. This is probably one of my better shots of Aristarchus crater. You can kind of see, like, this feature is very particular, and what's up, DMT Mind says, they watching you while you watching them. Vision says they forgot to homogenize. That's pretty funny, man. Talk about synchronicities. Mesmerizing. Bramble's a good thing. Luna's shining brightly. Awesome. Yeah, so this quick shot here of Aristarchus crater, plateau, Herodotus, and then Schroeder's Valley, the kind of snake-like ravine in the middle of Aristarchus plateau. I mean, how the hell was this formed? Like, this is clearly one of those kind of like carved out regions. And you know, that's why I give props to Thunderbolt's project. It's the only source I've ever seen really even discuss features like this at all online. So that's sort of why I not buy into it, I just kind of watch them, and I'm critical, but yeah, this is fascinating to me. And there are obviously many features that do the same sort of thing. Man, there's a lot going on with the moon, that's for sure. Let me take down this shot of Aristarchus, even though it's cool. Look at the real moon behind us. What's up there, Tom? Alright, I guess I'm gonna do a quick tour over to Saturn and Mars, see what's going on over there. I'm gonna switch up to the 3X Barlow, and then when we get back to the moon, we can see up real up close and see how that's going. All right, almost 11 p.m. here. Appreciate everybody hanging out. We'll be away from chat for a second, and let's jam this out with Oh the Hell With It All.
for the world, flip it for the edge, flip it for the world, flip it for the edge, flip it for the world. Casino, out of the 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 casino. Flip it for the edge, flip it for the world, flip it for the edge, flip it for the world, flip it for the edge, flip it for the world, flip it for the edge, flip it for the world. Tall tales gotta run downstairs. Seven times on the make room of jail. Ten tall tales go room downstairs. Seven times on the make room of jail. Casinos on you downstairs. Out of the casino, 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 out of the casino. Flip it for the edge, flip it for the world, flip it for the edge, flip it for the world, flip it for the edge, flip it for the world, flip it for the edge, flip it for the world.
Flip it for the edge. And so the planets are getting affected by how bright the moon is. It's a typical thing, and usually on the crescents it's not so bad, but certainly on a 75 Waxy Gibbs. I'm gonna get the outro going on, not the actual outro, but the song. Don't worry, I'm not trying to trigger. It's an easy track to talk over. There we go. Alright, so got that 3X Televue Barlow. I see that the stream looks a little yellow. I don't know, I think it's just cranking some bandwidth right now. If it buffers, hit that refresh. Either way, the glow of the moon's screwing with Saturn and Mars. Mars has, I think, Valles Marineris showing. Saturn really tough viewing since it's right next to the moon. In any case, I'm all about the crisp visuals, if we can get them. Mary, if you're still around, have a great night. Thanks for stopping by. So let's get in deep on Clavius and see some real close-up detail. It's not the 11, but it'll have to do. Like I said, 8-inch with a Sony and a 3X Televue, jumping in right here onto Clavius crater with the kind of chain of craters as we talked about. Let me know if this is looking good to y'all. Yeah, me too, Rayclay. Steady. Bust up that contrast a little bit right here. Yeah, throw me some feedback in the chat if you like what you're looking at or if you have any thoughts on it. Otherwise, I'm just going to kind of pan around. So you'll see a little feature we couldn't see earlier, which was this kind of little cluster. And that looks actually, interestingly enough, like the central peaks of the larger Clavius crater. And so what's interesting is, like, if you could really get some high def footage here, you could see whether this chain of craters, for example, was formed, well, I guess it would have to have been formed after Clavius, But either way, the interaction between this chain of craters and the central peak would be interesting. I'm gonna stay zoomed in here. So this is like, what is it? The scope is f10, so this is running at like f30. So I'm blasting up I'll explain what I'm doing with the frame rate as well. So in the bottom left corner, I guess I've kind of zoomed in on this shot, but I have it at like 1/50, which keeps the frame rate up. And the ISO running at like 3000 right now almost, just to get that, just enough detail in there. So interesting is everything looks really cool when you're that close up, and then you almost don't notice the big features. But here's Tycho just creeped up onto the right. Really awesome radiated shadow that you can kind of see really all the way down the side of the super. I really love watching and recognizing patterns of different features over time. I kind of feel like once maybe in a year or so or two, when the computers are fast enough to really edit 4K properly, I'll ultimately do all these different videos where I'll take like Aristarchus from 100 different streams and put them all together and show all the different configurations. Like, it must be Jupiter ones and of course Saturnian moon configurations, but yeah, definitely moon craters over time. Got my iced tea over here. Let me hit that iced tea, bro. That's pretty good. Alright, so creeping on up. I'm sort of keeping the Terminator to the left and following it up the side. I got too far off, okay. I thought this was Copernicus for a second, but it's not. It is, I should know this one, but I don't off the top of my head. Where are we exactly? So that's Rupus Recta. Let's zoom in on Rupus Recta for a second while I find this crater. Right here, really, I mean, fuzzy but detailed shot of Huygens sword, or Rupus Recta, or the straight wall, as they call it. It's like a very distinct and defined fold in the air, in the Earth or the land. Sorry, in the moon's surface, kind of folding on itself, creating a very, very distinct feature. But then you see at the very bottom, there's kind of this little similar, like either mountain or pyroclastic structure that looks like a handlebar, like a handle of a sword. And so this is why it's called Huygens sword. Most striking features is a straight wall, or Rupus Recta as it is officially known. 120 kilometer fault is what they say. Seen here below first quarter bright line, etc., etc. Yeah, there are certain phases where it looks better than others. This is one of them, and yesterday would have been one too. straight wall is called The Railway by British observers. And I guess it terminates in the south against a jumble of short ridge segments that the 17th century selenographer, that's cool, Christian Huygens likened to the handle of a sword with a straight wall being the blade. That's where it came from. Yeah, I'm gonna zoom out for a second while I research for a second. I can feel the heat. You can see it in the image. It's in the atmosphere too, man. It is cooking right now. Let's get up to a more defined feature because we've got a lot of atmospheric turbulence. Let's check out Copernicus with this 3x. Yeah, this is gonna look pretty good. All right, this is real nice. Same sort of shot that I had earlier, but it was twice the noise level. Adding the 3x gives us this magnification, but with a lot less noise. Sorry, it gives us much more magnification, therefore we can get it with less noise. Very clear, well, not very clear, but once it is clear, you can really see the center peaks. Great definition. You know, and then another thing to notice, obviously, so Copernicus crater looking really, really sharp here and defined, and not a lot of that filamentary structure coming off of it. Let's just widen out the view, take a quick shot. You can kind of see from this view that you see those very, very faint filamentary lines coming out from the center of Copernicus. But if you note, in a few nights when the Terminator, God damn it, excuse me, when the Terminator line moves a bit further, then we're gonna see an entirely different version of Copernicus where all these filamentary dendritic patterns coming off of it are gonna be glowing extremely brightly. So that's one thing to note in terms of comparisons. Yeah, there's some major echo, reverb, latency shit going on, but I'm trying to power through it. I think literally after this stream or tomorrow, I'm gonna move the setup back over to the 11-inch where I can sit down, like use Logic to talk to y'all, and everything's gonna sound in time, I feel. Actually, you know, like I'm glad that I got this whole back area set up enough to even play, so that's good. Let's quickly look at the north ridge of Sinus Iridum, and kind of the northern rim of Mare Imbrium as well. Let's see what this looks like on Zoom. This gets close up like crazy. And so if you guys also, again, believe or not believe in the Chinese rovers, I kind of am really skeptical. I'm skeptical of the Chinese rovers, but if they did go to the moon, then they're right around this region. This was the landing area where they took those few photos that exist with the dark regolith. In a way, it almost looks like the head of a cat right now. The pareidolia is strong with Sinus Iridum. The reverb is good. I know. I like it. I love that I can hear myself plus the music. The monitor is super helpful. And then again, this whole Montes Tenerife area, which looks like a word not carved into the surface, but peeking out. I mean, this whole formation of rocks is so fascinating. I mean, I assume that it's probably part of the northern area, and then the area between it that's smooth is probably filled in with, I guess, lava or surface features, maybe sinking into the sea. You know, if you wonder like what these Maria are made of, like, I guess you'd have to think of things like iron, titanium, but then again you have moisture, and I would assume it's something like sand and clay, and some type of soil. I've seen some of the chemical breakdowns of the lunar soil, but again, it's not really discussed in depth as to, you know, how these features would react to. It's always taken in such jest. You know, I've seen some of those things where they're like trying to disprove conspiracies, and so they'll show you all the lunar regolith. And let me lower this a bit. Getting a little wild. I'm getting a little wild in the background. Make it a little chiller. Anyway, stupid Mythbusters. It's just so tiresome. I would just love some real research on it. And you're going around, about to hit Plato Crater, and then what I tenderly call the chicken foot. Also a really super cool region, probably popping up from somewhere else and then everything around it being filled up. It's the only real explanation, otherwise it seems very structured. But I don't think, you know, I mean, it's pretty massive. It'd be like something like 40 kilometers, that chicken foot. Plato Crater, or rather Plato Mini Mare, is what I want to call it. It seems so much less like a crater and more like, you know, like a tiny version of Mare Crisium. But I guess it does have some crater walls, at least at the bottom and the top. It's a sandy moon. Sandy moon. Yeah, this is good. I'll put that one on later. Alright, so the region, of course, north of this is Mare Frigoris, and in a little bit of darkness over here, but also really cool mountain features to the north of Mare Frigoris. Go out wide for a second and get a little bit of contrast in this view to get the whole region. Vision says, can you see the SOS? I'm sure I can probably find it. Where did you see it? Is it inside Plato or near the chicken foot? Or in the words Montes Tenerife? Let's see if I can find this SOS. I don't think I've seen it distinctly, but now that I'm looking for it. Man, it would be nice if it cleared just a little bit, if it were like 10 degrees cooler, this would be very sharp. I guess I'm not seeing that SOS right now, unless it's super large. I mean, this area also looks very cool, like the concrete structures that I was talking about. Like, it just always reminds me of those old buildings, or not the new buildings where it's all concrete blocks and they have like slabs. Oh right, I want to look at not Rupus Recta, at Valles Alpes, right here. So this is a pretty good shot. Hit up that contrast a little bit. Y'all's got toast, y'all's got butter, I got the jam. your green endo and your violet lips. That's your chestnut hair and some courage. It's your 9 to 5, baby, kill the lies. Let us sing 5, 6, 7 in your heart's 11. Got your jiggles, your soul, made on your bones, coming from the cold. I've been waiting and living. I've been waiting to living. I've been waiting and living. Just to wait and to give it. Since your weird fine head and your cat so touched and your white-lipped dove that she loves so much. Now I know what you do with your hallelujah. I know how you feel with your hallelujah. I know you some bones with your hallelujah. Let's just fuck shit up and call it opportunity. Waiting and living. I've been waiting to living. I've been waiting and living. Just to wait and to give it. So glad I found your tree. Drift like wood on the beach. We suffered longingly. Your world is coming apart at the seams.
flaws in this fantasy. Take the night, cause everything's meant for your pleasure. You found a home, you found your map, you found your treasure. When you lay your mind, your face, the needlessness to rest.
So it's cool, it's going in and out of lots of haze and then no haze, so switch to the wider view.
myself back from the edge, but I got nothing new to say for
Thinking of a rhythm, singing in another. Freaking toasted my brain right here. It's always very complicated to focus on the moon, the chat, and rhythm patterns, but I take a risk. All right, so center in this moon right here. Still think it's pretty hazy, but at least we got a shot, right? Chat room has come to a screeching halt. You guys alive out there? It is midnight, 8:21. Tell me if you're alive out there, I really need to know. I had a little time before the show. If you're alive out there, I'd really like to know. Tell me what we're doing, tell me what we're eating before the show. father's kinda slowly, just in touching on the tongues and listing on alone. What just unite, just unite, just unite. Days of measures, I found those hard of mine. Once woke up with nothing in my head. Just woke up with nothing to assimilate mine. I figured out in time what I'm supposed to do. I figured times and times and what you. Alright, looking for some riffs. Looking around the fretboard. It looks like shapes. Here, let's see. What's weird sounding? This is weird. Artichoke craters from the moon. You're crying out of penis butter salad strings. Found very funny out it. Should've saw the full my body. If you hit those undertones, laugh about the schools you know. Glistening fire beneath the cool. I'm trying to play some I try to play some chill. The sycophant is near, so far away. The sycophant is near, so far away. The fan is real, so pulled away. Gravitation on the way. An indescribable feel. Gravity rotation on the way. My electric field. I was stolen by the rock star. Don't know what? That's not even catch. What's up, Rain Song? How's it going? Such a waxy Gibbs. Very hazy moon. Alright, let's play a little bit of catch. Take a sip of a drink. Yeah, let's pull it up, see some clouds moving through. catch me when you
Got nothing to hide.
keep screwing it up. I keep thinking it's the same line over and over. I'm still practicing that one, but thanks to, I think, who recommended it? Was it Brennan, I think, asked me to play it? And I'd never actually picked that one out before. What's up, Karen B? How you doing? That is a ding from Not the Move. God damn it, stop. So I have like this little extender for the remote control, and it keeps dinging against my desk. So loud. Everything's so goddamn loud. Yeah, my voice is a little shot tonight, to be honest. Humidity really crushes me sometimes. Thanks for hanging out, everybody. Almost 3 hours in. I think I got another like 15 minutes. I mean, I could go all night, but man, I need to rest, get a good day tomorrow. Main song says, sing Dire Maker. I feel like that remote just did something by itself. I guess that was recording for like a solid 30. When I read the letter you sent me, it made me mad, mad, mad. When I read the words and it wrote to me, it made me sad, sad, sad. But I still love you so. I can't let you go. I love you. Oh, baby, some ads on this video. Oh, they're definitely gonna copyright this video, but I've gone too far, gone way too freaking far. See, tempted by the need to remember that riff. Sometimes it's a total disaster, but that just came back to me. Stop ringing, damn you. There's nothing I can do about it. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming. Please come again to the off-the-cuff crater. Play now and pay me later, or don't suffer at all. I've been taking no calls, just that busy. Run that height so dizzy. Lead with the noise and come back to Froys, Troys, Boys, Enjoys. Things that rhyme but don't really rhyme, sort of rhyme. That's cool. Just testing out a couple of little riffs over there. Ooh, it was that clear that I gotta adjust the aperture again. We stopped with some twist and jam. I wasn't going anywhere, I was just riffing off what Ellie said. What the heck? Maybe? Not going nowhere, Mr. Bend. Mr. James W. Bell. Yeah, that cleared up awful nice. Oh, were you riffing off the Dire Maker? You don't have to slow down. Let's do a little chat room song, but somebody give me an idea to start off. Doesn't have to be poetry. Could be something you heard in a dream. Could be a type of food. Could be a quaalude. But make sure I can sing it somehow. So Waxy, smoky other moons that you're hiding under your suit. Oh, shake, shake, shake the root. Man, you want some strut somehow. I feel like I've worn that song out. Oh, boxes and boxes, your infinite toxins, small got something to say. Indestructible ideas are vanishing, aimlessly wandering away. The nation calls insatiable into my nighttime activities, proclivities. Can you sensei? You're my sister and I love you forever. Speed this thing up a little bit. Oh, you're my brothers and I love you forever. You're my kitty cat, love you forever. Oh, you're my puppy and I love you forever. Hey, I recall I knew the one, the elements of falling glasses. Oh, all we know is from the one, the healing bones and body breaking. Won't you tell me what you like? I got so much love for you. And you, 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 and you. Say you're my sister, and I love you forever. And I mean that, say you're my brothers, and I love you forever. Say you're my kitty cat, and I love you forever. Especially Wingsley. You're my siblings, you're my cousins, you're my family. But what would you say if I knew not of love? What would you do if I had no attitude? Would you drift along like jellyfish in yogurt sauce? Man, that sounds really gross. That's what happens when you think of the most random thing possible. Change your minds. Decide to eat some carrots for your eyes. Travelers on the street, I don't know how you be lately. Moving to an F and then a B flat and then A flat. E sharp minor, change the key. You're my favorite herb and I'll smoke you forever. I don't know how long I will last, but I will take a sip to that. Meow. Hexagons and bonbons. Velvet, cement, whaleskin, tetrahedrons. That's pretty decent. Let's see. Velvet, cement, whaleskin. Smoking lamp is lit now. You may unbuckle it in your so we don't care. It's a space jam, it's what we do. Let's go a little simpler. Just turn it up past 3. Sitting, drinking songs in a tiny little monastery. You haven't felt the touch of another thing like 4,000 years. You're curled up with your reptile creatures deep within a monster's cave. 4,000 million light years away. But what is this? Exist beneath dozens only speaking with filthy veins. Okay, don't leave, oh please, don't leave. Got a window secret, it's only about an inch in aperture. I don't know for sure. Then I found a little aperture secret. Things always come into focus. When I'm sweating bullets, I'm trying to balance on actual beam of light don't exist tonight. Keep the flow going at all costs. Keep the flow knowing at all costs. Trying to balance on a literal stream. At a corner of my eye, I found the reason. Drift along the coast of ceasing. Oh no, would you believe? Would you believe? Would you believe? Would you believe? Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You is gonna totally get picked up. I hope Dire Maker doesn't. If I played it in like odd time. Alright guys, I think I'm getting cooked here. Put a fork in me. Buckle up and take a seat on the lunar train to outer space jam. Trying to remember this thing I was working on. Something like this. I'll play it. I'll render it out for you guys in the next couple of days. It's called the Lunar Operator. Lunar Operator, lights on for you, for you. Lunar Operator, lights on for you, for you. The Lunar Operator. That's all I remember of it. I have a whole work in progress. All right. Jamster. The Jamster wheel. As we roll through the Jamster wheel. Jamstar Galactica. Jaddle stars. Jabattle stars. Stop dinging me. Damn it. Who wants to ding a metal chair? Clay, you leaving? I'm still hanging out for a little bit. I'm still gonna check out Saturn one more time and Mars to close out the show. Man, 3 hours goes by like nothing. isn't it? Now it's gone downhill. I prefer the stairway, or the ladder. Love my pupils dilated. You can love all the pupils. I know that like some of the words I sing just sound like totally other things to many people, and then sometimes it'll hit me. I think the moon is looking okay. Ding, ding, god ding. Stairway to Star Jam. And she's buying a ladder to heaven. I was thinking South Park. Although that ended up being a real song, right? Somebody wrote that ladder to heaven shit. No offense. 2ND1. 3 hours 15 on the clock. Let's start rolling this one up. Let's see. Rain song. I know you've been requesting. Excuse me. You've been requesting some songs, but I kind of don't want to get ads and copyright stuff. I feel like I'm like one song away from the video being taken down, and that would really suck. Especially with like Zeppelin and Floyd. Fire. Started sounding like Santeria to me, or something like that. All right, everybody. I appreciate the presence and the space crew and all the great comments and engagement and support. Hope you guys have an excellent day tomorrow. And I will be back again, come hell or high tides. Because, you know, like, just gotta take advantage of every night we can see. Yeah, you know, the ads are one thing, Rain Song, but like, I heard some people's videos, the entire video gets taken down because of like some Beatles stuff, and yeah, that's annoying. But give me some water, lunar hydro. Yeah, I am like, it's crazy hot, man. I don't know, like it's super intense. But beautiful shots of the moon, wanging Gibbs, Waxy Gibbs. Maybe I'll just play some other like regular recorded jams and do one quick tour, Saturn, Mars. What's up, Michigan? How you doing? Harvesting right now. All right, yeah. I'm noodling too much. I can't think of anything to play right now. Happens. It happens. Let me find a track to throw on the back. This one is... This is a funky one from first days of TakeBackSpace in 2015.
The curtains watch the rain. I would love to tell you more. Move on and move on and move on. Your kind of life sailing down the road. Let me out your feather moons. Never, 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 never want to hide. Creators of love. It's also illegal, yeah, narrations are false. It's also unreal to me, you're schooling us all. Totally deceiving, navigating the wall. Invader of love, it's also revealing, yeah, the nation will fall. But not in our lifetime by ruling the poor. Totally deceiving, your lies about all.